All right, hello, hey everyone. I'm Tatiana. Welcome to today's live stream. Let me know your name and where you're from so I can test to make sure that this is working okay. See if everything is working, because you never know with these live streams. Sometimes I think I'm live and I'm not even live. Sometimes I'm live and I didn't realize that I was live. So let me know if you can see me, if you can hear me okay, and also let me know your name and where you're from. I'll do some shout outs. So let's see here. Looks like so far, yes, looks like we're okay. So great, thank you so much for joining me today on this live stream. I have been doing live streams more frequently. As you guys know, last week I did a few live streams and it was really fun. And so if you've been enjoying the live streams, let me know by hitting the thumbs up so that I can continue doing them. I find it great to engage with you and to be able to ask Q&A, answer questions live directly. I do answer questions on YouTube videos in the comment section, but I don't always have time to go back and answer all of them. So I find that this is just a great way to do it. So who do we have here today? We've got Ina from New York, awesome. Lorraine from New York as well. We've got Jen for Toronto, awesome. We've got Denelise, sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, from Dominican. We've got someone from California, someone from the UK, awesome, someone from Mexico, Orlando, Colombia, amazing. It's always so nice to see people from all over the world. It's amazing how you and we have access to this technology where we can connect with people all over the world. It is revolutionary, it is life-changing, and it brings with it so many opportunities that our grandparents, great-grandparents never had. And so that's why I think the idea of an online business, of making an income online, still seems foreign, because rightly so. This is still relatively new technology, and to be earning income in this way is not something that has been happening for many generations. And so we have a lot of opportunities at our fingertips, and as you guys know, that's what this channel is about. I talk about Amazon FBA, selling on Amazon. You know, many years ago when I started this business, I had no idea that I could make money from my computer. It's just not something that crossed my mind. I didn't know that it was a possibility. And thankfully I came across, I met Stefan, who had an online business, and I was just surprised that he could take his computer, travel the world, and he can work from his computer, and that's how he earns an income. And so that idea, that concept changed my belief system around what was possible. Because now all of a sudden I realized that, hey, I don't have to go to work. I don't have to commute to work every day, clock in, do my 9 to 5, and do the same thing day in and day out to make a living. There are other ways I can make a living and potentially even create a whole new life that I never even dreamt of. So anyways, thank you guys for joining the stream today. I'm gonna try and keep the stream more concise. So last stream was about 2 hours long. We're gonna try and keep it under 45 minutes long today. So the way I want to do it is I just want to first make an announcement for you, share an announcement, and then I want to go into talking about financial freedom, just briefly talking about what it means, how one can achieve financial freedom, the importance of setting financial freedom as a goal in your life. And then also we want to do a Q&A session. So after that, we'll go into Q&A. So please save your questions for that time so I can answer them more towards the end of the stream. Okay, great. So looks like we are doing okay. So the first announcement I want to make, and maybe you have heard this already before, is that the Amazing Selling Machine 12 is now out. So the Amazing Selling Machine, if you guys have been subscribed to my channel, you know what it is. It's a course that I've been recommending for years because it's the first course that I ever took and that taught me how to build my Amazon business. I had started a business back in 2014, I knew nothing about business. I was in university, I was studying political science and French, and knew nothing about business, knew nothing about online business, actually didn't even own a computer at the time. I had an iPod, which I was just using to browse Facebook. And so I was very unaware, and I was fortunate enough to come across this course. I took the course and it taught me step by step how to build my business. So oftentimes people ask me, Tatiana, what do you recommend is the best way to get started in this business? I see the opportunity there is, but I'm just not sure on what to do next, on how to get started. And my response is always the same. I think the best way is to invest in a comprehensive program, because that's going to help guide you step by step so that you're not left in the dark thinking, well, I'm not sure if this is what I should do or if this is what I should do. And so if you're serious and committed to building this business, then I think that's the best way to go about it, because then you feel the certainty and the comfort and the confidence that you need to move forward. And if you're anything like me, without that experience, it's hard to know what the next step is when you've never experienced it before. So I definitely think that a course is the best way to go about it. I think of it as an investment in myself. I think of it as though I were to spend the money on one semester in university. So it's equivalent to that for myself. And looking back in hindsight, I'm not sure if I would have the business that I have had I not taken the course, because it was so comprehensive, because it guided me so well. And so I do recommend the course. And so the 12th version is now out. So back when I started, I took the 4th version of the course. And so each year, oftentimes they update the course twice a year. And so now the 12th version is out, which is really exciting. It's one of their most improved versions, because with the coronavirus and with just everything that's happened over the last year, Amazon has changed a lot. And so they've had to really change a lot in the training. And so what I love about this program is that it is extremely professional, it's well built, it's extremely comprehensive. They provide you with an amazing community where you can go there for support, have like-minded individuals. If you want to start this business and you're feeling a bit lost, you're feeling maybe like you don't have much support, it's really important to be part of a community. I can't stress this enough. Because if you're not part of a community, then you'll get excited, 1 week, and the next week you're just not around people or engaging with people who are on the same mission, who have the same, who are like-minded and who are working towards the same thing, and you might lose motivation. And so I think being part of a community, it keeps you excited, keeps you energized, keeps you focused, keeps your eye on the goal, and helps to show you that there are other people in this with you. You're not alone. There are other people who are also building their businesses in the same place as you, and they are moving forward. And so you can have a community of people who support you and you support them, and that is priceless. And so that all comes with it. And so if you guys want to learn more about that, you can click the link in the description box below or go to tatianajames.com/training. You'll go through like a little bit of a webinar that they have to learn more about the course and what they offer. And then you can also check out my bonus offers. So I mentioned in my last YouTube video that I'm offering 8 weeks of coaching and follow-up coaching personal coaching emails, which is not something that I do very often. I do it usually once a year when the ASM course launches. And so this is a bonus that will be expiring pretty soon. And so you can learn more about how you can obtain the bonus by going to tatianajames.com/ASM bonuses, or click the link in the description box below. All right, so having said that, let's dive into financial freedom. And I thought I wanted to bring this up today because ultimately, I was thinking about what do we really all want to achieve with all of this? Why are we wanting to build businesses on Amazon? And for the most part, just selling a product on Amazon is like not the ultimate outcome. The outcome is what you can achieve through that, right? It's the resources, it's what you can earn, the income that you can earn, and what that income can do for you in your life. And I think a lot of us, we do want to achieve financial freedom. And the word financial freedom it's a nice word, right? To think of freedom, it's like kind of like a bird who is free to fly wherever they want, whenever they want. And then attaching that with finances, well, financial freedom, it's very attractive. I think we can all agree that it sounds pretty nice. And so although it's a nice term, it kind of gets tossed around really loosely. And it's like, okay, well, what does it really mean to be financially free? And it seems like everyone kind of has their own definition of it, and that's perfectly fine. And maybe you guys can share with me what your definition, what does it mean for you to achieve financial freedom? Comment in the comment box. I'd love to read what you think about that later on. But for myself, really what it means is financial freedom is to understand what are my current expenses, my living expenses. Okay, so this is where you have to have a bit of financial planning. You have to understand, what's your income, what are your expenses, how much does it cost you to live your life as you're living it today. And so by doing a little bit of planning, you can say, okay, well, it cost me $5,000 for my lifestyle. Let's just say that. That includes my mortgage, my car payments, my food, entertainment, everything. $5,000 is how much I need to live the life that I'm living. And so then you say, okay, well, if that's how much I need to live this life, then that's the goal. So making $5,000 a month is the goal. And financial freedom is being able to make that through your assets and passively, so that you no longer have to trade your time for money, and so that you don't have to work in order to continue to living your current lifestyle. And so what that means essentially is that your goal is to be able to make enough money through your assets that can pay for your lifestyle. And so, people can go about it in different ways. You can you could choose to decrease your living expenses so that you can, earn enough, just a small enough income to pay for things, or you can just choose to figure out ways to earn more income. And so, the thing is that with your job, you're going to be limited because you're paid, on a salary or paid by the hour, and there's a cap to how much you earn. And so you have to think about, okay, well, the goal is to be able to earn more money so that I can be making more money to pay for these lifestyle expenses. And if you think about it, very few jobs are high-paying jobs. Like when you look at the job market, to get a job that pays $100,000 a year plus, it's very rare. And so when you look at the option of entrepreneurship, the effort that you're putting into your job, the time, your creativity, your resources, your hard work, all of that, yes, you're getting paid for it, but if you put all of that into entrepreneurship by building your own business that you own 100%, it can pay off exponentially. The potential for growth is really great because there is no cap. And so the effort that you put in is going to be rewarded so long as you are offering value to the marketplace. So entrepreneurship is not prejudice. It doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter what resources you have. It doesn't matter what educational background you have. As long as you're creating something of value for the marketplace, something that people can purchase, a service that you can offer, then you will be rewarded for it. And that's the beautiful thing. So I think that if you're someone who feels like, yeah, you work really hard at your job and you're always putting out your best, you're that type of person, then in some ways entrepreneurship can really be beneficial for you, because if you put that same effort and time that you do in your job into the entrepreneurship, into your business, you have a lot more potential for it to grow and inevitably earn more income through that. And so I'm not saying that we shouldn't have jobs. Of course, everyone, we need jobs, and everyone, maybe you love what you're doing, and that's fantastic. But what financial freedom offers is not necessarily the income that you're making from it, but the time. It's when you achieve financial freedom, you no longer have to go to work. You no longer have to get paid by the hour. You no longer have to do things. And so all of a sudden, life looks very different, because when you wake up in the morning, your bases are covered. Your necessities are covered. You don't have to go and do certain things to afford your lifestyle. And now you get to choose what you want to do with your days. And I think that's the most beautiful part about it, is because, life is so beautiful. The world is so beautiful. We have so many options and so many things to experience, and each person is unique, and maybe you have passions that you want to be able to express. Maybe you have talents that you want to spend more time working on. Maybe you have things that you just enjoy doing that you have been putting aside because you haven't had the time to do those things. And so when you achieve financial freedom, it allows you to now be able to step it into that place where you can choose what it is that you want to do with your time. And time is arguably the most valuable asset. We all have 24 hours in a day, and the more money you make, the more you're trying to, in a way, buy yourself more time. You're trying to pay people sometimes to do services to save you time. You're trying to outsource things so that you can have more time to do the things that you want to do and live life on your terms. And so I think it's just really important to see, to achieve financial freedom, I think is an important goal for everyone to have, because we all deserve to live life on our terms. And we all deserve to realize that we can be the architect of our life. We can design the life that we want, but we need to first decide what it is that we want. We need to have a goal. And when we have a goal, we can decide, okay, what's the action plan? What's going to help me achieve that goal? And it doesn't happen overnight. It happens with time. You need to have patience. But without a plan, without a vision, then you're going to be lost. Each day will pass by, and 5 years from now, you're going to wake up and you're going to wonder, well, is this the life that I want? Is this the life that I wanted to create? And so you have to decide what is the life that you want to create. And so that's why entrepreneurship is really beneficial, because you can express yourself in ways that you can't necessarily do at a job with the limits that you have. And your earning potential is in some ways limitless, okay? And so that's where we come into selling on Amazon. Now, selling on Amazon is just one way that you can pursue entrepreneurship. And the reason why it's attractive to so many people is because it's a process that, once you learn the process of how to sell products on Amazon, it's a process that can then be replicated, and you can do it over and over and over again. So once you learn how to sell one product on Amazon and what the process is to do that, you can then go ahead and you can do the same thing with a second product and a third product, and you can soon build a brand. And eventually you can scale that brand and you can sell it not just on Amazon, but on Shopify. And you have the potential to even sell your brand at the end of the day. And that's what a lot of e-commerce sellers do. They build a business, they start it on Amazon, they grow it, they get it to a certain point where it becomes attractive to an investor, and then they list it for sale, and then they sell it, and then they get a big payday when they sell the business. And so there's a lot of different opportunities there. So we're going to go into the Q&A section now. So if you guys want to ask questions, feel free to comment down in the comment box, and I'll start answering some questions for you. But essentially, yes, I mean, you have to realize that to achieve financial freedom, it's not as hard sometimes as we think. It doesn't, sometimes when we don't know what that number is, I would encourage you to realize, okay, how much do I need to earn in order to maintain my lifestyle? Figure out what that number is. So if it is $5,000 a month, okay, now you know it's $5,000 a month. So now you say, okay, if I launch one product on Amazon, what is the earning potential of that product? Okay, so if that product makes me $3,000 a month, let's say I have a $1,000 profit. Okay, great. So maybe I need to launch 5 products on Amazon, and the revenue, the profit from those products will pay for my lifestyle. And so I think it's important to know what those numbers are so that you can then set up an action plan so that you can work towards achieving that. If you don't know what those numbers are, then you have no idea what you're working towards. And so, yeah, so that's what I wanted to share. I'm not sure if that fully was explained or interpreted well, but at the end of the day, it's just get clear on what it is that you want. Get clear on what you want to achieve, what type of lifestyle that you want, your ultimate lifestyle. Pretend that you didn't have any barriers. Pretend that there's nothing getting in your way from you achieving that lifestyle. Okay, so you can dream a little. And then you say, okay, if that's what the ultimate lifestyle is, and this is where I'm at right now, what's the reality of my situation right now? What resources do I have that I can leverage right now? And what are my skills, my talents? What are the things I'm good at? And then from there, you can start to create an action plan to help you work towards that. So have a goal, have a vision, and work towards it on a daily basis. Because each day will pass by. And it's like if you don't have a goal, you don't have a vision, it's almost like you're wasting those days. You might as well train your brain to be working towards something. And so financial freedom should be a priority for everyone, not because of all the money it's going to make you. Maybe you're not driven by money. A lot of people are not driven by wealth, but by the freedom that it can give you in your life. If you're someone who likes to volunteer, but you never have time to volunteer because you're working all day and then you come home and you have responsibilities with your family, then if you achieve financial freedom, you are no longer stuck on the hamster wheel and you don't have to work. And then you can go and spend that free time volunteering. So it opens up all of these possibilities for you to just live a different life on your terms. And it's not out of everyone's reality. You have to realize that, is that you have to believe that it is within your reality. If you don't have belief that it's within your reality, you'll never achieve it. All right, questions. Okay, so someone says, if I sign up for the ASM course in 2 to 3 weeks, will I miss out on some things? So the answer is yes. So my bonus package, where I offer the coaching, the 8 weeks of coaching and the email coaching, that does expire. So my bonuses are going to expire on the 22nd of this month. I believe it's the 22nd of this month. And so that package will no longer be available. You will still be able to purchase the course after that date, but the coaching bonuses that I offer will no longer be available. And so that's the one thing that you will miss out on. There are also other bonuses that the Amazing Selling Machine is offering, and those bonuses will disappear as well. So the reason why is because right now the Amazing Selling Machine 12 just launched. And so when they just launched for the first time, they're introducing the newest version of the course. It's a big deal. They have a whole bonus package. They have really great offers, myself included. I have special bonuses. But after the 22nd, it's no longer going to be a launch, and you can still purchase the course, but you're not going to get all of the extra bonuses that it comes with right now. Okay. Okay, hey Tatiana, I'm a nursing student specializing in cosmetic medical aesthetics and want to break into the cosmetic world by selling at home machines. What would be the best way to build a brand? I'm not sure if I understand the question, so if you can ask that again, that would be great. Okay, let's see right now. How do I sell clothes on Amazon FBA? Should I drop ship? Should I buy bulk clothes? What happens if it doesn't sell? So selling clothes on Amazon is not something that I recommend if you're a brand new seller. So if you have experience selling on Amazon and you've sold a number of products before, then it could be an option for you. It could be a more viable option for you because you have that experience. But if you've never sold in the clothing category, it's a tough category to be in for many reasons. Number one is because with clothes, everyone has a different style. You have to have different sizing variations, different colors, different patterns. And so if you are buying in bulk, that means that your inventory expenses are going to be increased. And also you have to realize that on Amazon, there's a 30-day refund policy where if you sell with Amazon FBA, a customer can return that order within 30 days, no questions asked. And in the clothing category, if someone returns a clothing item, that clothing item is considered used even if they didn't open the packaging. As soon as an order has been placed and has been shipped to the customer, that product is considered used and will get discarded. And so the clothing category is a tough category to be in, and I wouldn't recommend it if you're brand new because there are many, many other lucrative categories that are going to be much easier to get into, to get started in with more viable product opportunities. And those product categories are just simpler. You're gonna be more profitable with them. So clothing, when you have some experience, if you're doing drop shipping, that's another story, but you can't do that with Amazon FBA. What was your day-to-day schedule when you started learning the ASM system, and how did you manage life, work, etc.? Like, how did you find the time, and what did you have to sacrifice that was the hardest? So, great question. When I started the Amazing Selling Machine, I was in university, and I was also working at a restaurant. So I was working to pay for my university tuition. And luckily, I was living at home with my mom, so I didn't have to pay rent. So my money went to university tuition, and I also had some savings. And so I did have a really busy schedule because, you know, going to school and then also working, that pretty much took up most of my time. However, I was just working on my Amazon business, and I didn't think much of it when I first started. When I first started, I was just like, this is cool, this is a neat idea, let's see what happens. So I was, you know, pretty much every evening, I would say almost every evening, I would spend about an hour on it per evening. And so what that looked like is because I took the course is composed of 8 different modules, and you could think of like each module is like a class. Okay, and then within each class, there are different sub-modules, so different sub-trainings. And so, for example, you know, I would basically watch one of the videos per night. And each video, some videos are 15 minutes long, some videos are 30 minutes long. And then after each module, there's homework. So it's kind of like you're going, you know, that's why I say sometimes when you get this course, it's like you're going to university. It's like you're taking a class to teach you how to sell on Amazon. And so I would go through it and then I would do the homework. And so I'd spend about an hour per day. And I wasn't consistent with it all the time because some nights I would work really late, like till 2 a.m. And so I couldn't, you know, I needed to sleep. And, but eventually I would, you know, that's the thing is that when you start this business, you don't need to quit your job. You don't need to go full-time with this. It's unnecessary to do that. In fact, I would argue that it's better to make sure that you have a job so that your job is supporting your lifestyle. Your job is paying for your lifestyle expenses so that you don't need to pull money out of your Amazon business. So the more that you can keep money in the business, so what I did is I invested a little bit of money into the business, got it rolling, started making some sales, reinvested the profit back into the business. You know, as the business started to grow, I kept on reinvesting the profit back in. And it took me maybe, I don't know how long it took me, but I think I took about a year before I actually started to pay myself some money from my Amazon business. So I made the choice to reinvest the profits back into my business instead of pulling the profits out to pay me. And so while I was working on my business, I was maintaining my job to support myself. And I think that's really important. I would say that like 90% of people who sign up for this course, they are working full-time. Some people have two full-time jobs. Some people are working 2 jobs. And so you have to find time to do this at the end of the day or early in the morning. And so long as you're just being consistent, like maybe an hour a day, or even just a few hours a week, it just depends on how productive you are with your time, then you can see results. But it just does not make sense to think that you're gonna go full-time with this because there's not enough for you to do when you're getting started to go full-time. There's just not enough tasks and work for you to do to go full-time. And by the way, I waited 2 years. Yeah, so I think I started paying myself a little bit after the first year, but I waited 2 years before I finally quit my job and I said I'm never getting a job again. Because at the 2-year mark, I was certain, I was like, okay, I've definitely proved my concept now. The business is doing really well. And at this point, I'm making way more from the company, from my Amazon business than I am at my job. So at this point, it doesn't make sense for me to be spending the time in my job. Because the time that I'm spending my job, I could put that towards my business. My business would have a way greater return than the money I'm earning at my job. So you kind of do the math at some point, and then you start to realize, okay, now it makes sense for me to quit my job because my time is better used running this business. Okay. Hi Tatiana, what is your opinion on having a variation of products under one brand name? What's your opinion on that and what do you recommend? Great question. So I think that's a great idea. So when you're selling on Amazon, you can kind of go about it in 2 different ways. One way is you can say, well, I'm going to do product research and I'm just going to look to see what products are selling really well on Amazon that have opportunity for me to go in and kind of sell those products also. So they're like hot selling products and you're not really concerned about the category or the niche of the product. You're more looking at the numbers, and you're just trying to see, okay, what products are viable product opportunities, and that's what I'm most concerned with. And so if you go about that way, you could launch a product, say, in the sports category, and then when it comes to your second product, you might launch a product in the pets category because you see an opportunity there. And then the third product is in the baby category. So you have all these products in different categories, and you can certainly do that because you look at the numbers and you see the opportunity with that particular product. And I've seen a lot of people who are really successful who've gone about doing it that way. Now, the other way to do it is to decide, hey, I'm going to pick one niche. So say, for example, sometimes if you have an interest in something, it's better to go with that because naturally, if you have a passion or an interest in something, you're going to be more inclined to working on it. You're going to enjoy the work that you do, and it's going to be more pleasurable for you. So say you have an interest in fitness and you are someone who loves going to the gym, it's something that you do, it's something that's like effortless for you, and so you say, okay, I want to find a product in the fitness category. And so then you source a product in the fitness category, launch it on Amazon, and then it comes time for your second product, but you're not looking at other categories. You're saying, hey, listen, I'm building a brand in the fitness category. And so you decide on your brand name, and then you find another viable product within the fitness category and you sell a second product. And so what happens then is that you build a brand in the fitness category and you have multiple products within that category. And I prefer this method, and the reason being is because it's much easier to scale your business this way. It's much easier to create a real business because you're building a real brand. And so, for example, if you have a customer who buys a product, say you're selling let's just say, what's in the fitness category? Resistance bands. So you sold someone a resistance bands. Well, it turns out that that person who bought the resistance bands, they're into fitness. They have a goal, a fitness goal of some kind. And hey, you have weightlifting gloves that you're also selling. So you could easily send an email to that same customer and say, hey, I'm also selling weightlifting gloves. Here's a 10% off coupon if you're interested. And so that customer is going to be more likely to purchase those weightlifting gloves because you know that they're into fitness. So it's easier to sell an existing customer on a second product or a third product than it is to obtain a whole new customer. So when it comes to building a brand on Amazon, it's better to just decide on one niche, in my opinion. It's better to just decide in one niche, one category, and then you just have multiple products under that category. And what that allows you to do is in the future, you don't have to just sell on Amazon. You never just want to be dependent on Amazon. You can take that brand and you can start selling that brand on your own website. Because then if you sell on your own website, whatever your brand name is, if you're just in the fitness niche, people go to your website and they see fitness products, and it makes sense. But if you were to sell multiple products on your website, it's going to look ridiculous. You're going to have a pets product, a baby product, a sports product. It's not going to make any sense. And so you're not really building a real brand that way. So I would recommend doing it this way. However, if you're brand new and you're just getting started, I wouldn't worry too much about that because a lot of times people just do their first product and they learn from that product, and then with their second product they have more experience now, and then they kind of discover what it is that they want to focus on, and then they decide on their niche and their brand and all of that stuff. So yeah, that was a long answer to a short question, but I think it was an important question. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so at what point do I register my company? Another great question. So when you are selling on Amazon, you don't need to sell under an entity. So if you decide that you want to sell as a sole proprietor because you're just starting your business, you don't want to go through the hassle of setting up an entity or pay the expenses of doing that, you don't have to. You can sell as a sole proprietor. That's what I did. I think for the first maybe 6 months or so, I just set myself up as a sole proprietor. That means that all of the income from my business was my personal income, and so it gets declared as that. And so if you choose at some point in time that you would like to set up an entity, you can always do that, and you can always change that. So in order to set up a seller account to sell on Amazon, you could either be a sole proprietor, or you could be an LLC, a corporation, any of that stuff. It's up to you. It's a personal decision. There are definitely benefits to setting up an entity because, for example, when you are starting this business, there are going to be expenses, placing your inventory order, hiring designers, shipping, all of those things. And if you have an entity, you can write that off. So there are definitely tax benefits to doing that. And it's really not a hard process to set up an entity. I set my own company up. It's quite a simple process, and usually, I mean, you could have an accountant help you with that if you need help. Okay. Let's see here. How personal should you, in your opinion, be on your brand's social media? Should one be more personal and take photos of oneself with the product, or work with more influencers? Another great question. So I'm a bad example when it comes to this, because sometimes, you know, people will look at my channel, and I am very transparent about my business, and they go and look at my business and they see that I'm the face of my brand. And the fact of the matter is that most people who are selling on Amazon are not the face of their brand. What I did was fairly unique, and I just chose to do that because I wanted to, and I wanted to create content, and that's just something I wanted to do. It was a personal preference. And also I didn't have a lot of money, and so I knew that I didn't have much money to spend on advertising, and so I thought, okay, well, how can I advertise my products for free? Well, YouTube. I can create YouTube videos, and those videos, who knows how many people they can reach, but if I just keep creating YouTube videos talking about my products, I'm basically advertising my products and not paying for it, although my time is worth something. So don't use me as an example, because I think the misconception is that you need to be the face behind your brand. And I know a lot of people selling on Amazon, and I know very, very few people who are actually the face behind their brand. If you do want to do that, then that's great. More power to you. I think it's nice because I think people appreciate seeing the founders, seeing a face behind the brand. I think customers like that. Just think about yourself as a customer. You know, what's a product that you recently purchased? Did you know who the founders were? And if you did, would it have changed anything for you? Would it have enhanced your experience? So it's a personal decision, but I think that in terms of when you're setting up your business, what you want to do is you always want to set it up in a way where you're preparing to eventually sell it one day. Because although you may not be thinking that, hey, I'm going to go into this business and one day I'm going to sell it, it might be an opportunity for you at some point. You know, I never started my business thinking that I was going to sell it, right? So, but you want to set it up with the idea of thinking, okay, if I were to sell this business one day, let me get organized and set it up in a way where it would be attractive for someone to buy. And so I think that it's better to make sure that your business is not dependent on any one individual, including yourself, and to make sure that there are no bottlenecks. And so I think that having different influencers representing your brand, helping you with your marketing, different faces to the brand, I think that is probably a more sustainable route and is going to be more attractive to someone. Would they buy your business in the future? And that also comes down to, you know, when you're setting up your business, make sure that you get bookkeeping done properly. You know, when I was first starting, I was like, oh, I'll do the bookkeeping myself. I knew nothing about bookkeeping, and I was like, oh, I can figure it out myself. There's not that many transactions. It should be easy. And it just kind of became something that I never really got to. And the years went by, and I'd never had proper bookkeeping. I had this Excel sheet that was just not done properly at all. And so I ended up having to hire a bookkeeping service that went back and had to redo years of bookkeeping, and it ended up being just an unnecessary headache and expense. So just kind of go into this business organized. Make sure you have your files organized on your computers. Make sure that you just you have backups of things. Make sure that you keep track of your expenses and stay organized in that fashion. It's going to help you long term. Okay. So, hi Tatiana, just a general question. How do you create balance between work and life, and what do you think of that? Great question. It's funny, I remember I asked Tony Robbins this question. I went to a mastermind in Fiji, and I asked him this exact kind of question. And his answer was that there is no such thing as work-life balance. There's only work-life integration. But I don't believe that. That's just not that's not my belief system. My belief system is there is work-life balance. He's very mission driven, and I think that's a beautiful and honorable thing, and he's found his purpose, and so I can understand his perspective and why he would say that. But for me, I do feel like there's a balance. I feel like work is a small part of my life because there's so much more to life. There's people who are ultra successful financially, but it's like, okay, are you successful in your relationship? Are you successful with your health? Are you successful with your discipline? Are you challenging your intellect? There's so many different pieces, dimensions of life, and those are things that I want to also put my attention to and focus on. And so for me, achieving financial freedom, which is kind of going back to what I was talking about earlier in this video, one of the biggest benefits for me was being able to have more balance in my life. So I don't have to get up and go to a job and spend 8 hours there and then come home tired and kind of go to bed and do the same thing every day. So I can kind of create the days how I want them to be. And of course I still have to work, it's still a part of what I do. And you'll hear, I remember hearing, Kevin O'Leary, he retired and spent 2 months on the beach, but you get bored doing that. So I think we will always want to work. But finding work-life balance has been such a luxury and such a privilege, and I feel like that was one of the greatest things that I was able to achieve through building this business and through achieving financial freedom. So I have balance. I choose what time I start work. I choose what time I end work. If I'm not wanting to work that day, I don't work that day. I spend a lot of time learning and reading, and I love those things. I love doing that. So I do believe it's important. I also understand, though, in the beginning, when you're in a situation that does not permit a lot of balance, you have to understand that circumstance and that it becomes something that you get to earn and you get to kind of reward yourself with. When I was first getting started, I just did not have any balance. I did not see my friends. I did not hang out with friends. Usually girls my age when I first started are out kind of partying and having fun. I didn't do any of that. And so I made those sacrifices because I was so focused on building my business, because I always had the long-term vision in mind. For me, I was okay, right now I might have to make some sacrifices. I'm gonna work really hard. I'm gonna work really long hours. I'm not gonna, my health is not gonna be a top priority in terms of maybe I don't get to go to the gym every single day, although I always try to make it a priority. But this is my main focus. And so in the beginning, there was no balance, and I tried my best to incorporate balance, but it was not always, it's not realistic. But eventually, you don't want to be working like that the rest of your life. I hear people, for example, and I don't mean this in a I don't mean to bring anyone down, but for example, someone like a Grant Cardone, it's you gotta grind and you gotta work hard and you gotta sweat, and it's blood, sweat, and tears for the rest of your life, and it never ends. But I don't see it that way. I feel if you have to blood, sweat, and tears every single day on your business, then you have not achieved financial freedom, or if that's your choice, if that's what you like to do, if that's your character trait, that's your personality, then that's great. But for me, it's not. And so my goal is to achieve balance and to be able to design my day. The day that I want when I wake up, that's the day that I want to create for myself. So I just have a different way of seeing things than some of these other people who I do follow, and I appreciate their content. But for me, I don't feel like I need to grind all the time. It doesn't add up to me. You grind for a period of time to achieve your goal, and when you achieve your goal, you need to enjoy it and reward yourself. And if you have another goal, if you enjoy the grind, then go for it by all means. But I feel very balanced right now, and I'm working towards more balance in my life for sure. My husband and I have over $490,000 in student loans from pharmacy school. I'm praying that Amazon works. Thanks for sharing all your information. Wow, that's a lot. Yeah, and you know what? That's the interesting thing is just the schooling system. And I don't want to get into that because it can, we can go on and on about it, but it's just the price of tuition. It's just insane. It's through the roof, and we pay so much money to get our degrees and to get our education, and yet you're not guaranteed to have a career that pays well at the end of it all. And so I was in university, but I dropped out at before my 4th year started, and I'm really happy that I did. It was a really hard decision for me, but at that point I just saw like, what I have here is special, and my potential with this, I think, is greater than my job prospects when I graduated from university. And so I made that decision. I initially kind of took off 1 semester, and then after the 1 semester, I took off 1 year, and then after 1 year became 2 years. And I was always intending to go back and finish my degree because I only had 1 year left, but I just never did, and I felt like I don't need it. It's okay. But yeah, it's tough. It's tough to work off $490,000 in student loans, and it's a shame that it has to cost that much for us to have highly trained professionals that are in pharmacy, pharmacists. It should not cost that much for us to have people like that in our community and as our for service. It's just, there's something wrong there, it's just not adding up to me. And so that's why a lot of education now is going online. I don't know if you guys have heard, there are a number of people who are trying to form kind of universities online that can actually give you real credentials. So I'm not really sure like the details on how that's going to work, but the idea is that with the internet, information is just exchanged so easily and accessible to so many people, especially now as more and more people are getting access to the internet. Mobile phones are becoming more affordable for people, so more people are having access to them. So information can just be shared so much more easily online and so much more affordably. And so I think that the schooling system is going to be changing, but it's going to take a long time to change because it's such a traditional and old system. Okay. So I'm in the US with a chronic illness. I want financial freedom, but I'm concerned about losing my insurance. What is healthcare like when you have the Amazon seller lifestyle? Great question. So as an entrepreneur myself, I don't have a normal job. I'm not paying into anything. And so I am responsible for my healthcare. I'm responsible for my old age, and I'm responsible for my healthcare. So it means that I need to be double responsible with my finances. I need to save extra money in case I do have a chronic illness, God forbid, or if something does, medical attention is needed. That's coming out of my pocket, although I do have a private insurance that I pay for. I use Cigna Global, and so they have like a great insurance program, especially if you're living a nomadic lifestyle. So it comes out of pocket, and same thing with retirement. I don't have, a pension, which a lot of pensions are draining out, but I won't have anything like that to fall back on. So what I do is I save money, I invest money, and that is, my investments are really my what I want to my money that I have for retirement. So it's more important for us as entrepreneurs to really be responsible with our finances, because you have no assistance in that regard. And so my kind of strategy with that is, I make money through my business. That's my primary, is through entrepreneurship. That's where my income comes from. I reinvest money back into my business, but I don't reinvest all of it back into my business. I don't think that's smart at all. So a portion of that goes to my savings account, but a big portion of because of my age, a big portion goes into investments. And so I invest in a lot of stocks. I invest into dividend-paying stocks. And my goal is to kind of get my passive income up to a certain amount where it is covering all of my lifestyle expenses. And so that just requires a lot of investing. And I have another video on this channel where we talk about investing, Stefan and I. So if you guys want to check that out, we talk about like the basics, beginners investing, all that stuff. So yes, you're going to be responsible for that. And there definitely are private systems that you can pay for that can help reduce the cost. Okay. Do you think that $10,000, not including the course, is enough to make good progress? I was told you will also have to pay for a reorder before you get paid by Amazon. So $10,000 is more than enough. I actually think that it's kind of foolish to put so much money into this business as a complete beginner. I think it's important to have a limit. So even if you have $10,000 at your fingertips, personally, I would not put all of that in it because it's so easy to spend money. It's just so easy. I think one of the most beneficial things for me with this business has been bootstrapping it. I really did not have much money to invest in it, so I bootstrapped this business. I did everything myself in the beginning. I was the graphics designer, I was the photographer, I was the video editor, I was the model, I was the copywriter, I was the one who was writing all of the blog posts. All of that, I created my own website. I did it myself because I didn't have the money to outsource it. And yeah, it takes more time, it's harder. And if you have the resources, you certainly can pay for services to do that. But what it ended up doing is I was able to build my business in a way where I had very little expenses. And so even now, my business has very few expenses. So the profits are a lot higher because I didn't right from the beginning just outsource everything. I learned how to kind of do things the cheap way, if you will. If you have the money and you want to you value your time and you want to outsource and delegate these things, that's perfectly fine. It's probably worth it for you at that point. But what is required in terms of building this business? Well, I say usually to get started with this business, I think that a comfortable place is about $2,500, $3,000. And it depends 100% on the product that you pick. If you pick a product that's 20 cents a unit, your inventory cost is going to be significantly lower than if you pick a product that's $5 a unit. So it depends on the product you pick, and that's why when you go into it, you really have to think about what is your budget. Because if you have a higher budget, then you're going to have a lot more options than if you have a lower budget. And so that's how much for inventory. Then you have to think about shipping, and you have to think about marketing. Marketing is one of the most important pieces of this business. You could have the best product in the world, but if you don't know how to market your product, then nobody's going to see it. Nobody's going to buy it. So marketing can include paid advertising, which is a very popular one for a lot of people. And the reason why it's so popular is because it's either paid advertising or content marketing. Those are I don't know, what other marketing is there? So a lot of people don't want to do content marketing because it's extra work. You got to get creative and think about photos to post and captions, and you've got to, it is extra work. And so a lot of people just do the paid advertising route because it's faster, it's easier. But I went the content marketing route, and again, I saved a tremendous amount of money doing that way. And you can do both, and that's a killer combo if you can do both. But you do need to have some money for marketing. When you first launch your product on Amazon, there is something called Amazon PPC, which means paid per click advertising. And that's your way to to, when you first launch a product on Amazon, you're going to be on page 15, page 30. Nobody's going to detect you. Like, what kind of person goes to find a product on Amazon and goes through 15 pages? I mean, I don't. I go through maximum 3 pages before I buy a product. And so with Amazon PPC, what you do is you pay for certain keywords. So if you're selling a resistance band, you do some keyword research and say you want to rank for resistance band, although that's not probably an ideal keyword to rank for. When you do real keyword research, you realize that it's not the most obvious keyword. That keyword's going to cost you a fortune. You want to look for maybe longer tail keywords that are less obvious, that are more related to your product. And so you want to try and rank for those keywords. Anyways, PPC is going to help your listing show up on the first page. And so people can then discover your product, click on your listing, and buy your product. So you are going to have to invest in some of that. So all in all, it's like roughly $3,000 to get started is the minimum, I would say, and $10,000 is just excessive, and you can certainly spend $10,000. I know that people certainly do that sometimes, but I don't think it's necessary. I've had people on the channel who've spent $1,000. What was his name, from Colombia? He spent forget his name. He was on my channel. He spent $1,000 all in for his business, and he is now doing $10,000 a month. And I've seen people who've also spent the $10,000, and they're also successful. So it's not like spending more is going to make you more successful. It's about what you are spending the money on and what you've created. All right. All right, we are, 56 minutes in here. Okay, so we're gonna wrap up soon, because I did say that this is not gonna be a super long video. So I'm gonna wrap up with some final questions. I'm gonna try and pick questions that are gonna be the most relevant for you guys. It's when I decide to get picky about the questions that I'm not sure which questions to pick. Okay, I live in France. Where do you advise me to start, France or the US? Now this applies for all of you guys, because this question comes up a lot. Maybe you live in Canada and you're wondering, should I start in Canada or in the US? Now you have to think about, okay, well, the US is the largest marketplace for Amazon. Amazon is all over the world, and that's true, but Amazon in the US is the largest. And so if you were to start in the US, you probably have more opportunity to easily get sales. And it's just because there's more demand. So there's more demand in the US than there is in France, or than there is in Canada, or there is in any other location. Now with demand comes competition, so you have to outweigh it. And that's where it's in general, I could say, yeah, start in the US because there's more demand. But I think it's important to, when you decide on a product, to do the research in both marketplaces. So if you decide that, hey, I'm gonna sell a resistance band, check how a resistance band is selling in France, and then check how it's selling in the US. And when you can compare both, you can see, okay, maybe the demand is like exponentially different. In that case, I should sell in the US, because if there's no demand in France, then nobody's gonna buy my product. It's gonna be a lot harder for me to make the money that I'm expecting to make. However, you might see that demand is similar, but competition is less in France. And so if competition is less, but demand is similar, that might be a better opportunity. So I think it does come down to kind of looking specifically at the product that you have. Although as a general rule, people typically like to sell in the US just because it's just such a larger marketplace. However, there is an exception. If you live in the UK or in Europe, oftentimes it can be better to sell there because it's also a great marketplace, and the currency is beneficial too, right? So even You have to think about that too. That's another thing. If you live in Canada, which is like myself, I could have started selling in Canada, but I decided, hey, I should start selling in the US because there's like a 30% difference in the currency. It's like when I make, yes, I have expenses and they're going to be in US dollars, but my profit and my income and my earnings are also going to be in US dollars. And so that was a huge benefit for me, right? Because then every time I get paid, I'm getting paid in US dollars instead of Canadian dollars. Meanwhile, my lifestyle expenses are in Canadian dollars. So that's also something to think about too. And so it is, it depends on your personal situation, but I would consider those factors. Okay, why do you rent your home? I am trying to escape paying rent and just wondering your reason behind renting. Great question. So different people have different philosophies about renting versus buying. And I mean, we're in Panama. You know, it was a 2-year plan to live here, and so I'm not here permanently. And so I think if you're going to buy a home, you should plan to be there at least 5 years, because otherwise, if you buy a home and then you sell it in 2 years, you're not going to make your profit with all of the expenses of having to sell the house again. It's just very little profit to be had. So I think if you're going to be buying a home, you should expect to be there for at least 5 years. And in Panama, we're just here for a couple of years. And so we've been renting here, happily renting. As someone who rents, you just have a lot of flexibility. So when we travel, you know, we're renting month by month. So for example, next month we are planning to go to Canada. So finally we are going back home, which is going to be so nice. I've been stuck in the apartment for 4 months now. So we, you know, gave the landlord notice, and so we have the flexibility to leave this place, and we can go to Canada, and we can spend a few months there, and we don't have to worry about paying the mortgage of our home here. So for someone who travels a lot, renting certainly makes sense. I mean, why pay a mortgage if you're going to be all around the world? It just depends on your personal situation. We are planning on buying a home at the end of this year or perhaps early next year. So eventually, yeah, I do want to buy a house, but up until this date, we've been traveling so much. Last year, I went to 18 different countries that it just doesn't make sense to buy a home. And so that's coming up. That's the next phase. And even with buying a home, you know, there's some people say, you know, don't get a mortgage, it's the worst thing to do. Some people say get a mortgage, it's good debt. There's good debt, there's bad debt. If you guys have read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki, he talks about good debt, bad debt. And so it's you have to decide on what that is. For me, I prefer to have a mortgage, because then that extra money that I would be putting down on a home, I can actually invest that and actually make a better return with that money than I would be paying, you know, the interest and all that. So it's a personal preference, just from what I've studied, what I've learned, and yeah, it's different for everyone. All right, last few questions. Okay, what are all the reasons that can make you fail when you respect all the ASM criteria? What are the things that you can't expect and that make you fail? Great question. So oftentimes people ask me, Tatiana, what's the success rate of people who take the ASM course or any other course that I've recommended, or it's a very common question. And you have to understand that most people who buy courses, they've done studies on this, particularly online courses. Most people who buy courses don't ever finish them. It's like the statistics are insane. You would think that if you buy a course, you put down your hard-earned money, you know, you obviously saw value in it, you obviously have a goal that you want to achieve by going through this course, you would think that you would complete the course. But studies show that's not true. And so it's the same thing with the Amazing Selling Machine. It's most people actually, well, not most people, but a lot of people don't complete the courses. I'm guilty of that too. I purchased a Bible study course from Alan Parr on YouTube. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go through this course every weekend, and I'm still on the first week, and it's been like 6 weeks. So yeah, life gets in the way, but it's up to you to stay committed and to create a schedule for yourself and to stay on top of it. If it's valuable enough, if you see enough value in something, then you're gonna go and you're gonna pursue it. Whatever you value enough, you'll make time to do. And so that's one thing. So consider the course completion. You have to complete the course. That's the first thing. Complete the course. Second thing is you have to do everything that you're told. I do a lot of coaching for people, as I've mentioned, and it always astonishes me how here you have a course, and a fairly expensive course, right? This is not a couple $100. This is a premium course, the best one that you can get. And you would think that if you purchase this course, then you're gonna follow it step by step, and you're gonna do exactly what you're told, because you are learning from people who have success that you don't already have. And so these are your mentors, these are your teachers. Like, listen to what they're saying, because they know what they're doing. But my experience has been that we tend to kind of like think that we know better. And so there's things that you choose to do and things that you choose not to do, even though you were told to do them. So number two, it's do everything you're told to do. Don't just omit things or skip things because you feel like it's not worth your time, or you feel like that doesn't apply to you. If the course tells you to do it, do it. They know better. The Amazing Selling Machine course has been around for 8 years. It's been redone multiple times, and they've fine-tuned it to create a process that is that you can do it again and again and again, and so it works. It's a process that works. So I would say that for the people who do follow the program, who actually do everything that they're told to do, and who actually follow the program, the rate of success is quite high. But ultimately, like, it does come down to you. It comes down to making sure that you're understanding the principles that are being taught, that you're not interpreting it in a way that is not what has been intended, making sure that you do pick a great product, a viable product. Sometimes people go into it thinking that, oh, I want to sell watches, and they say, they buy the course with the idea of, like, I want to sell watches, and I'm not going to do product research because I know I want to sell watches. Well, that's a problem. Like, you really got to go into it with an open mind, because through the training, you'll learn how to do product research, and it will teach you what to look for in a viable product to sell on Amazon. And you may not find that watches are a viable product. So if you're stuck on the idea of selling watches, you're setting yourself up for failure, because the criteria told you that that wasn't a good product option, and you went with it anyways out of being stubborn. So I think it's having an open mind when it comes to product selection, following the course criteria. And then at the end of the day, the biggest thing is, and I know this through surveying people. So after I do coaching with my ASM students, 6 months after they purchase the course, I send out a survey. And I ask people, where are you at? Like, how's your business doing? And for the people who have not yet made any money on Amazon, I worry. I say 6 months and you haven't made any money on Amazon. That must be a problem. What's going on here? And so then we get to the bottom of it, and it's usually either because A, they didn't make the time for it. So life happened, things got in the way, just got really busy at work, or had problems in the family, maybe some illness or sickness, and they got distracted away from doing the course. That's one very, very common reason. And then number two is because they couldn't pick a product. So what it means is that they felt so intimidated to pick a product. They fell into the perfectionist mentality, into analysis paralysis, where it's like they spend months and months and months doing product research, looking for the perfect product to sell on Amazon. And all this time is passing by as they look for the perfect product. When what I teach is like, okay, find a few products that are great options, pick one of those products and move forward with it. Don't waste any more time. It's better to pick a product and move forward with that, following the criteria. It's not going to be perfect because there's no such thing as a perfect product. And then learn from that experience. And so those are the things that I would kind of warn you of. And I also have a video where I talk about the 3 most common failures of why people fail with Amazon FBA. So you can search that on my channel, and I talk more about that. It usually comes down to mindset is a big one, not having like belief in themselves. So yeah, so that's it. All right, I think I'm gonna wrap up now. We are at 69 minutes, so a lot longer than I was expecting. If you guys like the live streams, the Q&A, give me a thumbs up. It's good to know if you enjoy this format, because I have been doing them a little bit more frequently, and if you guys like this, then I will definitely do it more often. And if you didn't, then give me a thumbs down. No, don't give me a thumbs down. Just let me know in the comment section. So as you guys know, if you want to learn more about the Amazing Selling Machine, it's just launched now, so I'm an affiliate. I am promoting it. When people ask me what's the best way to get started, this is actually, I had a friend who texted me and she was asking me how to get started with Amazon. I'm like, perfect, Amazing Selling Machine 12, here you go. So I definitely think it's the best way. It may not be the right fit for you. I understand that. I'm just presenting it as an option for you. So this is what I would recommend to my family and friends if you're wondering. I do have a bonus package. You can learn more. The links are in the description box below. And other than that, I will see you guys next time. Stay tuned for the next interview. I hope you guys enjoyed the last interview with Anne. She was fabulous. And I have an interview with Hamza that's coming up. I think I'm going to release it tomorrow. He's a successful Amazon seller, also started selling with the Amazing Selling Machine course, and he's doing really well. And so he's got a very interesting story to share with you guys. So make sure you check that out if you want to get motivated and inspired. That's why I'm creating these interviews. Because I want to show you what's possible, because there's not a lot of people who kind of share their journeys on YouTube. And so the point of the interviews is to show you different people, not just me, from different backgrounds, different experiences, and the lessons that they have to pass on to those of you who are starting your businesses. All right, guys, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Let me figure out how to turn this off, because this is not my computer, so I'm not familiar with this.